Okay. What's the inspiration behind She Dreams at Sunrise?
So She Dreams at Sunrise is actually loosely based off of true events. From the ages of 18 to 21, I was my great aunt's caretaker. Her name is Geraldine, and she is a very beautiful, lovely young woman. So when I moved to New York a year after that, I became her caretaker, and it was both the hardest and most beautiful years. They were the hardest and most beautiful years of my life, I'd say, because I really became who I am as a person, as a creative, as a man, as a young man. In those years, because I had to basically become a single father randomly last minute. I had to feed her and change her and bathe her and basically keep her sane. I had to keep reminding her that the things that she was seeing from the sickness weren't real and that she was in the real world. I had to crack jokes and keep her happy and keep her grounded and constantly remind her of all the beautiful things to be appreciative of while there were so many dark things in her brain. And this story is reminiscent of that because although there were some really dark times, mostly really dark, really hard days, there was also some beauty in there. There were the days where I succeeded at making her laugh. There were the days that the things that she was seeing weren't all bad. They were actually really happy things that she was seeing. So this is sort of in a way, it's an ode to her. It's a thank you to her for all that she's done. And changing who I am as a person, but also we became best friends after a while. So I wanted to put our friendship on the screen, and I also wanted to have some version of her story told because I know how many other caretakers there are out there. And sometimes it's just nice to see yourself and be reminded that there are others that have been through something similar.
What made you want to do animation to create the short film?
It's funny because I never planned to tell this story, any version of the story, in the animated space. I didn't really know how it would look, how it would feel. And then when this opportunity with Tribeca, Procter & Gamble, and Saturday Morning came about, they were really, really interested and adamant about me doing something animated. So I pitched them two different ideas. One was a very happy, Black family food short. And this was sort of my Hail Mary. I was like, they're not going to want to make this. Like, this is so personal and it's going to make people cry. Like, they don't want to make this. and then they chose it. And I'm really, really, really glad that it did because it's so hard to tell any version of the story. Like out of all the things that I've written and directed, I have not yet made something that was about me and my story. So this was my first crack at it, and I didn't want to mess it up. And thankfully, when it comes to animation, it takes all this additional planning. It takes all this, basically in my mind, like I think animation in a way is it's a way to put your heart on screen because you can really form exactly what you want to say and make it look exactly how you want it to look. And even with our time frame, even with our restraints, our perimeters on this project, there is still a certain level of animation where it's going to feel exactly how I want it to feel. Where live action, when it comes to actors and locations and all kinds of things, there's a lot more unpredictability. And with animation, I can see everything in the process and know what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like and change it along the way. So that's one reason I wanted to do it in animation, is because with a story this important to me, I wanted to make sure that I could do it exactly the way that I wanted to, since it was my first time trying to tell a story so personal.
Did you find anything challenging about putting together this short film?
I mean, we only had about 8 to 10 weeks to make a 8-minute and 46-second animated short. So if you work in animation at all, you know that that's nearly impossible. So many things were hard. But, I don't know. At the same time, my team they're incredible. Like, the guys at Double Plus Productions are so professional and they're so experienced, they're so seasoned that even when things seemed impossible, they never really seemed like we weren't going to succeed. I always felt like whatever we did to this short, it was going to turn out the way that I wanted it to. I mean, what's my biggest challenge? I guess the biggest challenge for me was making sure that the short felt authentic to what I went through, because although it was animated and we added this certain level of dreams, like I sort of twisted the story from her being sick to her wanting an escape but by her own choice. Like in the short, it was her choice to escape her reality. I think the biggest challenge was making sure when telling this story, the real heart of what happened and who she is as a person was still there. I didn't want it to feel too magical. I didn't want it to feel too unrealistic. And when I hear that people connect to it and really see themselves as a caretaker in it, it makes me really happy, because that's what I cared about most, was making sure that although we're in this dream world and this little green floating character and it's all very colorful and there's all these little characters in there that don't feel realistic, making it feel like when you're watching it, for a quick moment at least, you forget that it's animation and you just see these very real people.
And also, I'm gonna jump in for one quick second. Can you talk about the 846 collection? Why it had to be 846 to give context around that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the 846 program is this freaking fantastic program. And I'm so very happy that I was a part of it. So basically, Tribeca reached out and they said, would you potentially be interested in collaborating on your next animated short? We have this program called the 846 program, where we are attempting to reclaim that time, because 8 minutes and 46 seconds is exactly how long it took for those police to murder George Floyd. And there's already so much negativity in the Black community that is thrust upon us. They had this beautiful plan to try to fill that time and change the narrative, so that when you're thinking of 846, it's not just this terrible thing that happened to another Black man, but it is now a way for us to spin it and say we are honoring this Black man with stories by Black people. We are introducing the world to more joy, more stories, more heart from Black people in the Black community, and to at the same time show how long it really was. Because I feel like when people hear that it took 8 minutes and 46 seconds to kill this man, they don't realize how long that really is. When you watch these shorts, you can see how much story you can tell in that amount of time. There's so much time for a beginning, a middle, and an end, and jokes, and you can cry in 8 minutes and 46 seconds. All the things that can happen in that amount of time, I don't think people realized how long that truly is. So this was our chance to fill that time with new stories, new perspectives, and just new light in the Black community.
Were you contacted through someone else to do the project for the 846 film production?
No, actually, I felt very honored. I was reached out to by Karen McMullen, who works at Tribeca. I had known her for at least a year, because my first animated short, Grab My Hand, A Letter to My Dad, which is a short that I made for my dad, Tribeca was trying to screen it, and due to festival rules, it didn't really work. So we were trying to find ways to make it work, and it ended up screening at like Tribeca's backyard screening series in honor of Chadwick Boseman one day, which is really, really awesome of them. But then we just became friends. We were talking, and they brought up this potential opportunity of, we might be doing this program, like, would you be interested? And I said yes. And then when everything was confirmed, they told me what the program really was, the 846 program, and they asked me if I could pitch them a couple ideas and be in the running. So I really wanted to get it. So instead of pitching one in like 11 days, I pitched two. I wrote 2 full scripts, 2 full pitch decks, 2 full mood boards. I was like, I want in. So you're gonna pick one of these. And that's kind of what happened. So thanks to Karen for like reaching out and believing in me. And also Grab My Hand was in the Tide Film Festival, which she runs. So yeah, I wouldn't be here talking to you about this short film for Karen. So shout out to her. Shout out to Black woman looking out for Black filmmakers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. When directing short film for animation, how is the process different from filming from a television show?
Ooh, that's a good question. How is the process different? It's interesting because there are actually a lot of similarities in the two. They both take a lot of prep. They both take talking to your team, making a plan so that when you get into production, things happen as fast as possible. The only difference is for animation, I am not in the room with my people while they're working. On set, I'm there, and like there's questions being asked in the moment. Like I'm there to answer things, to figure things out as things come. For animation, it's a lot more, if things don't look the way I want it to, it's because I didn't prep enough. Like I have to prep every single thing so that I can make my animator's job as easy as possible. So they just have to draw what I want, because I've already made it very clear. I've already told them the tone. I've already told them the colors, already told them the vibe. And also in my project, I did what's called acting references, which is basically a live storyboard. So I just did everything to the point where I was like, it's now just your job to see what I want, do that, and throw your own creative marks on there. And that's what they did. But what's interesting about that is there's a lot more, in a way, there's a lot more trust in animation because I wasn't there when they were drawing. I just had to like hope they did it right. and then along the process, I would see, you know, step by step how it was evolving. And thankfully, since we didn't have a whole lot of time, our team of animators were just so incredible that they were on it. Like there weren't very many changes I had to make along the way. They really got what we were going for. And any changes that I did have to make, they made so quickly because they were just so good. So there's so many things there's so many ways that they actually cross over live action and animation. But I guess the main difference is animation just feels like, in a way, a lot more prepping.
Do you have a favorite moment in your films that are special to you?
Say that again.
Do you have a favorite moment in your short films that are special to you?
A favorite moment. I mean, of course, it's got to be the moment that makes people cry. You know, the thing is, it's not just the fact that people cry when they watch the film. It's not the act of making someone cry. It's more so when someone watches my film and cries, that proves to me that they truly connected with the project. Because you can say that you connected with the project, saying that you really enjoyed it, saying that it made you laugh, you know, those kind of things. But when I see someone actually crying, real tears, that proves to me, oh, deep down, you had a deep emotional connection to at least a moment of this project. And that proves to me that it was worth it. You know, like it proves to me that I should have made this. There was no part of me that, like, once one person cries at a project that I make, anything in my brain that says any sort of imposter syndrome sort of disappears, because I'm like, okay, cool. If I made one person cry, bam, I did it. I helped someone heal a little bit. I helped somebody feel something, remember something. Those have to be my favorite moments. So in Grab My Hand, my favorite moment was the monologue in the middle, where I wanted to make sure that people truly heard what I was saying and truly connected with this moment, because it really happened. So when this moment starts, I completely cut the music. So you're forced to like lean forward and listen to what is happening. And there's a chord that gets struck in people's hearts when you're forced to listen. Like you cannot pretend to be watching. Like if the room is quiet and it's just you and me and I'm speaking, you have to listen. There's a moment similar in She Dreams where I actually kind of use that same moment where I cut the music again. There's no dialogue on this moment, but I cut the music, so you have to tune in and realize, oh, that's what this short film is truly about. So the moment where I feel that me and the viewer are in an intimate space, and I know that what I'm trying to tell must be heard, those tend to translate to the crying moments. So I guess it's somewhere along the moments that pull people's heartstrings and the moments where it's the most quiet, the most intimate.
What do you hope viewers get from your short films?
Well, from She Dreams at Sunrise, actually from both. I think my biggest message between the two is how important it is to connect with the people that you love. I think we live in, especially when you're living in the big cities like LA, New York, et cetera, you are used to these fast-paced lives where we're so used to moving, going to the next thing, figuring out what you want to do next. And we oftentimes can forget to call our loved ones, just to tell them, hey, just to tell them that we love them, just to check in. And, you know, Grab My Hand is all about checking in. That's the entire project. I think She Dreams is a little bit more about forgiveness, but both are grounded in this message of how important it is to be connected to the people that you love in your life. And I just hope that when people watch this, if there is any sort of grudges, if there's any sort of love lost between the viewer and someone in their personal life, where that reconnection could help their growth and help get some version of closure or anything. I just hope that watching these helps more people do just that. And the most beautiful thing about these is when people walk up to me and tell me like, oh, this reminds me of something in my personal life. And after watching this, I'm now going to go do blank. That's all that's all you want to do from filmmaking, is tell a story that inspires people to want to make a change.
With your experience of directing a story through both animation and live action, do you prefer animation or live action?
Oh, what a question. You know, I don't think I prefer any, I don't know if I prefer any genre, or I mean, animation is not a genre, but I don't prefer any genre or any style of filmmaking over the other quite yet. That's one of my favorite things about being a filmmaker and an actor is that, you know, jumping from an animated family comedy to an animated short about loss to a horror movie to a superhero CW TV show, they're all very different. They all give me very different things. So I don't really prefer one to the other. Right now, I still feel like a baby in both. And I've been, you know, professionally acting for at least 6 years or so. And I still feel brand new because there's always something to learn. So they both give me something completely different. I think live action makes me more nervous, which I like. I like being nervous. I like feeling challenged. I don't do well when things feel easy because I start to get lazy. And in live action directing, I still feel this pressure to do well because there's so many people asking you questions all day. And if you fall behind, you have to have an answer how to save time. Actors want to ask you questions of how to do something different in the scene. There's always something being asked of you. But then in animation, although I don't feel as much pressure, I'm even more new in animation than I am in live action. So there's still so many things I'm learning along the way. And I'm having to ask questions while answering questions, which is a pressure of its own. So they both challenge me in such incredibly different ways. And I probably won't prefer one over the other until I feel like I'm a master at one of the two, which I may never feel, which is an exciting thing for me.
Growing up, did you always have a passion for directing or just creating your own projects?
I think the more I get into directing, the more I realize that I've kind of been directing for a long time and didn't realize it. I did a sketch comedy show back in the day with a couple of friends called White People Do the Darndest Things. And I was just an actor in it. I didn't write it or anything, but as we were performing, I got to a point where I was like, some of these jokes aren't landing. And it's because the director is not telling us how to do it right. And I never wanted to step on anyone's toes, but I was like, he's telling my friend to tell this joke and it's making him laugh, but it's not going to make the audience laugh. And I know it. So I was like, guys, you know, I was 19 at the time. And I was like, can I direct a show? And they're like, I don't know, bro, maybe one day. And then we did a show, we did another show, and they said, okay, you can direct this next one. And after I directed one, they let me direct the next 5 because they were like, you know what? We got so many laughs this day. You know what's working. So you just keep doing this for us. And then as time went on, I started realizing certain films I didn't like. I would piece together like all the things that I didn't like about it. Like, I didn't like that. I didn't like this choice, and I didn't like this thing, and I didn't like that thing. And over time, I realized, I didn't like the direction of this film. I didn't know what that meant, though. I didn't know that. I just thought, like, if you say, I didn't like this line, you think, okay, well, I didn't like the writing. I didn't like this performance by the actor. I didn't like the actor. I didn't like this shot. I didn't like the cameraman. But oftentimes, or camera person, but oftentimes when you're watching a project and there's little things that are missing along the way, you forget there's one person who's the captain of that ship. And it's not always the director's fault. Oftentimes there's so many things happening in film. It could be anything, but it gets to a point where you start to realize in certain projects, there is a theme. There's certain things that are missing throughout the entire project because of a choice that was made. And that choice may have been by the director. So I realized, like, okay, maybe I have my own perspective of directing, but I still didn't truly know what that meant until directing was sort of thrust upon me. So I think I always had an idea of maybe directing one day, but I'm a young Black dude from the middle of nowhere, Georgia. Like, what is directing a movie and a TV? What does that even mean? And as time went on and the opportunity started arising, I started getting into it, and I really didn't think I was ready. I really didn't think I was a director at all. And then as I got into it, I started realizing, all these things that I know are just directing skills. I just saw them as other things. So I don't know, it feels brand new to me, but also it feels like something I've been prepping for by accident for at least a decade and a half,
How are you feeling being nominated for the first time with your film with NAACP?
I feel amazing. I feel incredible. It's really funny how that happened, because I woke up that morning and Gibri Allen, which is one of the other filmmakers from the 846 program, he messaged me, "Man, congrats on the nomination." And I said, "The nomination for what?" What are you talking about? I completely forgot that we even submitted, because, you know, when they said they were submitting for the Image Awards, I was like, sure, right. Like, we're going to get nominated for an NAACP Image Award. Like, shoot your shot. So the fact that we actually got nominated, it is like such an honor. Like, it's just, man, it means a lot. Like, it just means so much, because in the past year, there's been so many little to huge things that have cemented in my life and brain and heart that I'm doing the right thing, and that directing is the right path for me. And more, I started to realize I should stop looking at it as a hobby that I'm kind of cool at, and start seeing it as another career that I am pursuing. Because I don't know, man, again, like, you see yourself as a young Black kid from a small town, and when you get a chance to tell a story and people really enjoy it, your first thought is, well, did I get lucky? You know, like, should I do this again? Because people are calling me director. What if I fail the next time? And then I made another animated short, and it premiered at Tribeca. And so I'm about to direct an episode of TV, and I say, but what if I fail this time? And then I direct the episode of TV and it does well, and I go, okay, you know, finally I'm like, well, maybe the reason I really enjoy this, well, maybe the reason I'm good at this is because I enjoy it. Maybe the reason I enjoy it is because I'm good at it. Maybe there's no room for anything else anymore. And I think part of me not wanting to do it was the fear of deserving it, maybe, or the fear of being ready. And once I got past that and just started calling myself a director, it made everything easier. So I don't know, I think the final nail, and I don't want to say coffin because that's not the great term here, but the final, I don't know, hammer in the nail of whatever I'm trying to say here is that was getting nominated for this Image Award. Because once I got nominated, that was my proof of like, oh, okay, maybe I know what I'm doing. Maybe this feeling of me really enjoying this shouldn't be something that scares me, but excites me to do more.
For sure. Okay, switching gears real quick. We know that Batwoman season finale is coming up in a couple of weeks. What can fans expect from this finale?
They can expect a whole lot happening at once. Usually our scripts rather, are about 45 to 48 scenes. Our season finale, when I read it, was about 79. So expect so many things happening at once. I don't know what got cut, if anything. All I know is they got really bold with this script. They threw in a lot of fun stuff, a lot of action, like more action than usual, and we already have a ton of action. There is a lot happening. So I guess people should just expect a wild ride. And of course, as always, a really killer cliffhanger at the end.
And are we going to see any development between Mary and Luke, you know, as season ends?
Development between who and who? I don't know who those people are. I mean, I think what you'll see is, you'll see, I don't know what you're going to see between Luke and Mary. I think, listen, Kim. I think what you're going to see, I don't even know what to say. All I know is that their relationship is very, I love the relationship because I know how much everyone wants them to be together, but I also love how much people enjoy the slow growth, because I don't know where they are in their brains quite yet, because they're like the two geniuses of the show. So you put two geniuses in a room, there's a lot going on in their brains at all times. Relationships kind of come and go with them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm personally excited to see what happens between the two of them in the future, period.
Oh my God. Okay. We see you get into the director's seat for Batwoman this season. Are you open to directing any more Arrowverse shows?
Yeah, I think so. mostly because I have so many friends in the Arrowverse shows. Like, I would love to direct an episode of Flash, mainly so I could direct Candace Patton and Brandon McKnight, because those are the homies. And also Christian Magby. They're like three incredible Black performers that I love and that cannot ever beat me at Black Game Night. So it would be.
Have you seen it on Instagram?
Oh yeah, it's so fun. I talk about it all the time. I'm actually gonna have a Black Game Night here in LA at some point. But yeah, I would love to work with my homies. What I really learned from Batwoman, and even my first live action short, Blue Bison, I love seeing what my friends can do, because there's already a certain level of trust there. So I love directing actors that I don't know, because it's a new challenge, trying to figure out who you are and how you like to work. But when I work with a friend, there's already like this deep trust that I don't even think they realize that we have. So that certain actors can be sort of guarded with their art, but when you're being directed by someone that you already have this intention to want to be a little more loose, because even the actors that are more guarded want to be loose. Every actor wants to be loose. They want to pull something out of them that even they don't expect. And I think that's a little easier when I know how you tick, because I know exactly where to go with them. And I think going to a show like Flash would be really fun, because I know these guys. Even like my few encounters and my few texts with Grant Gustin, I feel like I could pull something new out of him potentially, only because we have a sort of friendship that already exists. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. When it comes to my TV directing career, since it's so new, it's similar to how I see me as a filmmaker and actor. I kind of want to do a little bit of everything. I want to know what it's like to direct on the ABC, do something more comedy. I want to do, a little more USA, a little more Netflix. I want to bounce around, but with only one episode under my belt, of course, another CW Arrowverse show would be awesome, just to have another perspective of the superhero CW world.
For sure. What's next for you? Are you working on any other projects that fans can look out for?
Well, I have one more piece for that last question. I would like to direct an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, because from what I hear, there is like no rules as a director. You just get a crazy script and you kind of just throw a crazy idea and they just go for it. If you think it's awesome, do it. And I think that'd be a really fun experience where I could just be with the actors and the crew and just think of the dopest things and just do it. That'd be really fun. Anyway, things to look forward to. There's a lot of like undercover stuff. I still have my indie comic that got announced on Sci-Fi last year, Tower. That's going to come out sometime this year. It's just it's a slow burn to getting a comic book out, but that's coming out. My 5-page DC comic tie-in is going to come out too. I still have an animated series in development. I have a kids adventure kind of horror movie in development. I might make another animated short. Yeah, I might make another animated short. Not quite sure yet. Hopefully this animated pilot presentation I was in gets picked up, because that could be really, really fun. The team behind that is incredible. I have an EP recorded, so hopefully I can mix and master that this year and get that out. It's kind of just a whole bunch of whatever. I actually have a whiteboard in front of me of all the things I'm working on. What am I missing? Oh, I have an indie film that I'm trying to get made with a team I've worked with last year. I would really, really like to do that. Can I say that? Should I say that? Oh, wait.
You put it out there, so it's going to happen.
Oh, wait. Yeah, there's a really personal indie film that I want to make. And that's pretty much everything. Besides, there's also one film about my dad's story. This is indie film that I wanted to make a story about my dad's life for a while, his military days and all of that, but I could never crack the code. And then last year we were talking and something just clicked in my head and I got it. So I'm not going to write that quite yet, because I want to finish the indie film about me and whatnot first, get some of my current projects out of the way. But I'm really, really excited to write that one, because I think having like a full story about my dad would be pretty great. So yeah.
What would you like to say to fans who have been supportive of you over all these years?
Oh my gosh, freaking man. There's so many things I want to say. I wouldn't be here without you. My life I've been through some stuff, and all of the beautiful things that have happened in the past 3 years, specifically, really the past 4 to 5, are very much in part, they're very much connected to the support of my fan base. And my fan base, not just being people I've never met, people across the world, but also my family and friends back in Georgia, who love to call themselves my fans, even though they're like my cousins. But, you know, if it weren't for them, and like now I'm going even further back to like a decade ago, like if it weren't for them, there were so many times along the way where I wanted to give up, because it's hard, you know, getting into this business when you're fresh in a big city and you have one friend who is, you know, doing extra work with you. Like there's so many moments where you're like, do I belong here? Should I be trying this? Should I quit and go be a doctor or a lawyer? Like my grandpa wants me to do. And if it weren't for people back home messaging me and saying, yo, we believe in you, keep doing what you're doing, we're proud of you, then I wouldn't have kept going, right? And then as of the past couple of years, if it weren't for the diehard fans of Batwoman and my animated shorts that constantly reach out saying how inspired they are by it, how they want to get more into filmmaking and art because of the things that I'm doing, it's every little message, every little thing, it inspires me more and more and more to not only do more, but to do better. So I'm constantly trying to one-up myself, because if you told me that this thing made you cry, well, what can I make that can make you laugh and cry? And if that works, well, what can I do that can make you laugh and cry more? Like what can I do to not only make you feel something new, but also continually keep you inspired? So what I love about the fans, I just want to thank them for constantly inspiring me to inspire them.
Well, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.